Recording in progress.
Meningkatkan kualitas bersih, melestarikan budaya bangsa, mewujudkan masyarakat berkembang, cinta hidup mulia bagi sesama. Ayo kunjungi perpustakaan, jendela yang kita masa depan. Ayo kunjungi perpustakaan, manfaat masa bagi perpustakaan, kebanggaan bagi sesama. Meningkatkan kualitas bersih, melestarikan budaya bangsa, mewujudkan masyarakat berkembang, cinta hidup mulia bagi sesama. Ayo kunjungi perpustakaan, jendela yang bagi masa depan. Ayo muliakan perpustakaan, manfaat besar bagi kehidupan. Perpustakaan, kebanggaan kita semua.
Hadirin disilahkan duduk kembali. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, salam sehat, dan salam literasi. Yang terhormat, Kepala Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia, Profesor E. Aminuddin Aziz, MA, PhD. Yang kami hormati, Direktur Eksekutif Aminef Dr. Sandra Hamid, para pejabat struktural dan fungsional di lingkungan Perpustakaan Nasional, Guru Besar University of Maryland College Park, Profesor Mega Subramaniam, Dosen Manajemen Informasi dan Perpustakaan Pasca Sarjana Universitas Gadjah Mada, para pustakawan, pegiat literasi, serta undangan berbahagia, baik yang hadir secara luring maupun daring melalui aplikasi Zoom Meeting, serta kanal YouTube Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia. Sebelumnya perkenalkan, saya Putri Utami Rahmania bertindak sebagai pewara pada acara hari ini. Puji dan syukur kita panjatkan kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, karena atas rahmat dan karunia-Nya, kita semua diizinkan berkumpul pada hari ini untuk mengikuti seri Puspa Pemustaka ke-25, Seminar Literasi Digital dengan tema Literasi Digital, Inklusi Digital, dan Martabat Manusia. Kegiatan ini dapat terselenggara berkat inisiasi dari Deputi Bidang Pengembangan Bahan Pustaka dan Jasa Informasi Bapak Suharyanto dan juga narasumber kita Profesor Dr. Mega Subramaniam dari University of Maryland College Park serta dukungan dari American Indonesian Exchange Foundation atau AMINEF sebagai pelaksana program Fulbright di Indonesia. Dan acara ini juga terselenggara dalam rangka memperingati Hari Ulang Tahun Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia yang ke-46 tahun. Acara ini dapat pula diikuti secara langsung dari ruang serbaguna lantai 4 Gedung Layanan Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia dan juga disiarkan secara langsung melalui aplikasi Zoom Meeting dan juga kanal YouTube Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia. Hadirin sekalian, selanjutnya kita akan mendengarkan sambutan sekaligus pembukaan acara yang akan disampaikan oleh Kepala Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia. Kepada Profesor E. Aminuddin Aziz, MA, PhD, kami silakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Yang saya hormati Direktur Eksekutif AMINEF, Bu Sandra Hamid. Selamat datang di perpustakaan, Bu. Ini sudah agak lama nggak jumpa dan ternyata dugaan saya benar. Bu Sandra pasti lupa karena pertemuan saya dengan Bu Sandra itu pertama di London. Kemudian narasumber untuk webinar ini Profesor Mega Subramanian dari University of Maryland. Selamat datang di Perpustakaan Nasional. Mitra yang sudah cukup lama ya bersahabat baik gitu dengan Perpusnas. Ini Pak Ida ya, dosen pasca sarjana UGM. Para pimpinan Perpustakaan Nasional di sini hadir ada 4 orang, ada Bu Dini, Bu Adriati, Pak Wira dan Bu Ayu, dan para pustakawan yang ikut hadir baik secara luring di sini dari internal perpustakaan, para pegiat literasi, ataupun yang hadir melalui media daring. Puji syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa taala, Tuhan yang Maha Kuasa. Pada pagi hari ini kita dipertemukan di ruangan ini dalam keadaan sehat dan mudah-mudahan sehat kita adalah sehat yang afiat. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, kegiatan webinar kali ini tanggal 21 Mei 2026 bagaimanapun kita kaitkan masih dalam suasana Perpustakaan Nasional merayakan hari ulang tahun ke-46 yang tepatnya pada tanggal 17 Mei 2026. Persis 46 tahun yang lalu ya, pada tahun 80 Perpustakaan Nasional didirikan atas keputusan Menteri Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan. Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, webinar ini temanya tentang literasi digital. Dan ini tentu saja adalah sebuah area, sebuah bidang yang dalam waktu-waktu terakhir ini menjadi pembicaraan hangat, dan saya yakin ini akan terus menjadi bahan pembicaraan karena berbagai macam alasan. Alasannya yang pertama bisa kita ungkapkan adalah masalah derasnya informasi digital yang bukan lagi informasi itu didatangi oleh kita, tetapi justru datang deras mendatangi kita. Dan kita ketika terkoneksi di dalam sebuah jejaring, maka informasi itu tidak bisa kita bendung. Karena memang kita sudah dalam tanda petik menyediakan diri, mengabdikan diri menjadi bagian dari jejaring itu. Kemudian jejaring itu dengan bebasnya memasukkan ya informasi-informasi itu ke ruang-ruang, bahkan ruang privat kita. Nah, ini fenomena yang pertama, derasnya informasi yang tidak bisa kita bendung. Kemudian yang kedua, di dalam perkembangan dunia yang begitu cepat ini, dalam dunia digital, maka muncul pertanyaan seberapa besar kemampuan kita untuk mengelola informasi itu. Itu pertanyaan keduanya. Jadi kalau tadi sebuah kenyataan yang tidak bisa kita bendung, kemudian karena itu datangnya dari secara eksternal begitu. Kemudian yang kedua adalah seberapa mampu kita mengelola informasi itu. Ketika kita bicara tentang seberapa mampu, maka masalah literasi ini yang menjadi kata kuncinya. Karena bagaimanapun literasi, walaupun para pakar dalam pendidikan literasi, dunia literasi, begitu banyak mereka membuat definisi literasi, saya selalu berpegang kepada sebuah definisi sederhana yang saya pikir ini bisa menjadi bahan pedoman bagi kita, yaitu literasi itu adalah, atau kecakapan literasi adalah kemampuan untuk mengelola informasi, ya, menangkap informasi, baik itu informasi itu tekstual maupun non tekstual. Lalu si informasi ini dimanfaatkan untuk meningkatkan kualitas hidupnya. Dan ini dipengaruhi tentu saja oleh hal-hal yang sifatnya budaya, gitu. Ya. Nah, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, konteks literasi inilah menjadi penting karena memang ketika kita menggarap urusan literasi, literasi itu adalah kemampuan tertinggi ketika seseorang mampu memanfaatkan informasi itu untuk meningkatkan kualitas hidup. Ketika kita bicara tentang kualitas hidup, itu adalah tujuan akhir dari manusia. Manusia ingin baik kualitas hidupnya, baik kualitas jasmani, rohani, pemikiran, dan sebagainya, itu inginnya selalu yang terbaik. Nah, begitupun terkait dengan kemampuan untuk mengelola informasi ini. Oleh karena itu, webinar-webinar yang terkait dengan digital literacy atau literasi digital ini selalu menjadi menarik perhatian karena memang ya, ini terkait dengan hajat hidup kita saat ini. Itu yang kedua, seberapa mampu kita. Artinya kita seberapa literat kita memilih informasi yang memang akan mampu meningkatkan kualitas hidup kita itu. Nah, kemudian yang ketiga, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ketika kita bicara tentang literasi digital, webinar-webinar seperti ini, pertanyaan yang muncul adalah, ya, setelah informasi itu kita manfaatkan, lalu langkah berikutnya, informasi itu mau kita apakan, ya, dalam konteks yang lebih luas. Kalau tadi misalnya untuk kepentingan personal, maka berikutnya adalah untuk kepentingan yang lebih luas. Kita bicara tentang mungkin lingkungan kita yang kecil di keluarga, di tempat bekerja, lingkungan kita di masyarakat, dan juga bangsa. Nah, ini tentu bukan hanya menjadi sebuah agregat, ya, kemampuan dari seorang kepada seorang yang lainnya, kemudian dia bertambah, kemudian menjadi sebuah kesatuan, tetapi justru akan harus ada katalisatornya. Katalisator untuk pemanfaatan informasi ini. Nah, ini 3 pertanyaan paling tidak yang akan selalu bukan menghantui, tetapi akan mengikuti perkembangan cepatnya perkembangan informasi teknologi informasi saat ini yang kita berada di dalam kondisi seperti itu. Kita dalam dunia seperti itu sekarang ini. Dan ini tidak bisa kita tolak, tidak bisa kita nafikan. Mau tidak mau kita akan harus mampu untuk kalaupun tidak tidak selalu berada pada garis terdepan, setidaknya kita tidak ketinggalan, ya. Jangan sampai kita tertinggal terlalu jauh dengan dunia yang sedang berkembang ini. Nah, Indonesia tentu saja tidak bisa melepaskan dari kondisi ini. Kita memang menyadari sekali, Bapak Ibu sekalian, masyarakat kita itu perbedaannya begitu jauh. Dari satu sisi yang ada kelompok yang dengan mudah mengakses informasi-informasi digital itu. Sangat mudah, karena memang fasilitasnya ada. Tetapi coba kita lihat, jangankan misalnya kita bicara ke daerah 3T, daerah-daerah terluar, tertinggal, terdepan, jangan ke situ. Di lingkungan kita saja, kita masih menemukan begitu banyak warga masyarakat yang belum memiliki kesempatan untuk seperti kita mungkin ya mengakses informasi-informasi secara digital itu. Nah, ini persoalan lain yang memang kita hadapi pada saat kita bicara tentang literasi digital itu. Nah, lalu kita khususnya saya sebagai pimpinan Perpustakaan Nasional yang sekarang ini diamanahi untuk menjadi pimpinan gitu ya, bersama dengan teman-teman di internal Perpustakaan Nasional terus memikirkan bagaimana peran dan fungsi perpustakaan yang dulu seringkali diidentikan dengan tempat penyimpanan buku dan orang akan datang ke perpustakaan untuk membaca, ya. Sekarang dalam dunia seperti digital seperti saat ini, lalu di mana peran perpustakaan? Maka muncul pertanyaan, apakah perpustakaan masih bisa berperan optimal? Sementara akses terhadap informasi bisa saja diperoleh bukan hanya semata-mata dari perpustakaan. Kalau misalnya kemudian perpustakaan tidak mampu untuk mengimbangi perkembangan ini, maka sudah bisa dipastikan perpustakaan akan ketinggalan zaman, maka perpustakaan akan ditinggalkan, ya, karena dia tidak bisa mengimbangi perkembangan teknologi tadi, dan orang menjadi malas. Ngapain saya harus datang ke perpustakaan? Karena perpustakaan sudah tidak lagi mampu untuk memenuhi kebutuhan informasi yang diperlukan oleh para calon pemustaka itu. Nah, dalam konteks ini, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ya, tentu menjadi tugas yang begitu berat bagi perpustakaan dan seluruh insan perpustakaan. Karena apa? Tantangan dan tuntutan dari warga masyarakat yang ingin menggunakan perpustakaan itu semakin hari semakin tinggi. Harapannya semakin tinggi. Nah, kami di Perpustakaan Nasional mencoba membuat kebijakan-kebijakan yang sekiranya jangan terlalu jauh perbedaan antara harapan dan kenyataan yang bisa dipenuhi oleh para calon pemustaka itu. Aplikasi-aplikasi digital dikembangkan bersama dengan teman-teman yang ada para pegiat di luar, ya. Kita punya misalnya Ipusnas, ya, fasilitas yang begitu populer sehingga begitu macet, jangankan sehari, macet 1 jam saja itu teriakan dari warga masyarakat sudah begitu kencang. Ketika kita punya Kastara, begitu Kastara down, ya, dalam beberapa jam orang sudah panik, ya, maka pengelola Kastara ini dibombardir dengan pertanyaan. Ketika Ipusnas kemarin ini sempat dijaili lah gitu ya, bahasa saya, dijaili oleh orang jahat begitu, dan harus tutup, ya, dengan sangat terpaksa, tutup hampir 3 bulan ya Pak Wira. Itu teriakannya luar biasa, hujatannya macam-macam gitu. Apalagi ketika dikaitkan misalnya dengan anggaran Perpustakaan Nasional yang sedang dipotong. Dan ini dahsyat sekali, ya, sehingga dikaitkan dengan berbagai macam persoalan yang muncul yang bukan hanya di internal perpustakaan. Nah, padahal memang persoalannya bukan karena urusan adanya pemotongan, tapi karena memang ada orang yang jahat kemudian merusak, ya. Sehingga perbaikannya perlu cukup lama, sampai-sampai teman-teman dengan koordinasi Pak Wira dari Pusdatin itu siang malam mencoba mengusahakan itu, ya. Sampai harus menurunkan tim dari BSSN. Nah, ini karena apa? Ternyata masyarakat sekarang ini sudah begitu mengandalkan informasi yang sifatnya digital. Begitu. Nah, kemarin Pak Wira, ya, pada hari Senin, ya, bukan kemarin, sudah 3 hari yang lalu, meluncurkan sebuah program English Light, ya, di perpustakaan versi 3.3. Kebahagiaan Pak Wira dengan teman-teman dan tentu Perpustakaan Nasional adalah karena ini baru pertama kali program aplikasi English Light ini dikembangkan secara internal hanya menggunakan talenta-talenta yang ada di Pusat Data dan Informasi Perpustakaan Nasional. Ini kehebatan yang kita miliki saat ini di Perpustakaan Nasional. Ya. Nah, terima kasih. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini adalah upaya kita untuk terus dan terus dan terus begitu, ya. Membuat inovasi-inovasi baru. Nah, lalu muncul berikutnya persoalan. Ya, ini saya sengaja ungkapkan dulu persoalannya gitu ya. Ada persoalan kemudian apa ikhtiar yang dilakukan oleh Perpustakaan Nasional gitu ya. Keterbatasan yang dimiliki oleh Perpustakaan Nasional, ya, itu ternyata bisa juga menjadi anugerah. Saya ngobrol dengan Pak Wira itu, ya karena kita, baiklah kita memang punya anggaran yang terbatas, tapi ternyata kreativitas itu tidak pernah terbatas. Kreativitas itu tidak punya limit, ya. Maka setelah English Light diluncurkan, maka yang berikutnya program-program ini akan terus kita luncurkan dengan inisiatif yang dikembangkan sendiri oleh teman-teman di Perpustakaan Nasional. Nah, tantangan yang berikutnya tentu ini masalah kecerdasan buatan atau artificial intelligence yang akan menjadi tuntutan baru bagi dari para pemustaka, ya, kepada Perpustakaan Nasional. Teman-teman di Perpustakaan Nasional awalnya mengira, ya, ketika nama saya masuk ke dalam 100 orang paling berpengaruh di dunia dalam artificial intelligence, dikutip di dalam majalah Times gitu ya, tahun 2024. Mereka mengira bahwa saya ini ahli artificial intelligence. Padahal saya bukan ahli artificial intelligence, saya ini linguist. Begitu. Nah, tapi ketika orang tahu, oh ini kepala Perpustakaan Nasionalnya itu adalah satu di antara 100 the most influential people in the world of artificial intelligence. Ada tuntutan supaya Perpusnas juga kemudian mengembangkan artificial intelligence ini untuk layanan-layanan untuk para pemustaka. Saya bilang kepada teman-teman, ayo sekarang kita kerjakan, ya. Nah, lagi-lagi, ya, tantangan seperti ini sedang mendapat sambutan yang begitu baik. Ada semangat baru di kalangan anak-anak muda di internal Perpustakaan Nasional. Semangatnya apa? Pak, kami juga bisa mengembangkan itu. Saya katakan, baik, kalau begitu kita kerjakan sekarang. Ya. Nah, saya tentu tidak akan mendahului targetnya nanti seperti apa gitu ya. Tapi setidaknya, misalnya, masalah preservasi naskah, ya, naskah-naskah yang bukan lagi ribuan ada di Perpusnas ini, tapi puluhan ribu, bahkan ada lebih dari 100.000 naskah, ya, 107.000 naskah di kita, baru 16,7% kita digitalkan, ya, kita preservasi, berarti masih ada 83,3% yang tersisa. Nah, mengidentifikasinya saja sudah susah, ya, menggunakan mata telanjang dengan alat sederhana. Nah, nanti dengan menggunakan artificial intelligence itu akan bisa mengidentifikasi, oh naskah ini tingkat kerusakannya seperti ini, lalu pengerjaan preservasinya harus seperti ini. Dan ini adalah kawan-kawan yang di internal yang sedang mengerjakannya. Nah, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, saya tidak akan memberikan paparan yang lebih panjang dari itu, karena saya tidak jadi narasumber, saya diminta untuk memberikan sambutan, jadi saya menyambut baik. Ya, kalau dikatakan, ya sambutan ya menyambut baik. Gitu kan? Ya. Menyambut baik adanya pakar dari Fulbright ini yang didukung oleh Aminef dalam program Fulbright Scholars ini, ya, mendatangkan Bu Mega, ya, kata Bu Sandra ini setengah-setengah gitu ya, karena setengah Melayu ya Malaysia, setengah Amerika gitu ya. Jadi bisa bahasa Indonesia. Oh enggak, saya enggak bisa bahasa Indonesia, saya bisa bahasa Melayu yang sudah berkarat katanya gitu. Nggak apa-apa, kita dengar aja bahasa Melayu berkaratnya, ya, gitu. Pertanyaannya, apakah orang Malaysia harus memakai bahasa Indonesia? Kalau mau, ya kami dengan senang hati pakai aja bahasa Indonesia, ya, nggak usah pakai bahasa Melayu, ya, pakai bahasa Indonesia. Kami senang karena bahasa Indonesia sudah jadi bahasa UNESCO, ya, gitu. Tapi jangan menambah kebencian kepada saya karena saya yang mengusulkan bahasa itu kemudian disidang di UNESCO, ya, enggak, jangan. Kita bermitra saja, kita kan tetangga gitu ya. Nah, jadi ini adalah forum yang sangat baik. Bagaimana kita bisa belajar nantinya ya dari Bu Mega, ya, seorang pakar dalam digital literacy, ya, yang kemudian akan memberikan gambaran bagaimana pemanfaatan teknologi ini untuk penguatan dan peningkatan kecakapan literasi digital yang memang saat ini mau tidak mau harus kita terima sebagai bagian dari kehidupan kita, ya. Oleh karena itu sekali lagi terima kasih Bu Sandra, ya, sudah membuat inisiatif ini, ya, dan juga terima kasih kepada Bu Mega, ya, yang bersedia gitu ya hadir di Perpustakaan Nasional untuk berbagi pengetahuan, ya, pengalaman mengelola isu-isu terkait dengan literasi digital ini, ya. Dan tentu dengan seizin dari Bapak Ibu sekalian, ya, yang ada di ruangan ini maupun yang ada di ruang digital, ya, dengan bacaan basmalah atau doa lain yang sesuai dengan agama dan kepercayaan masing-masing, mari kita buka bersama-sama webinar terkait dengan digital literacy ini, ya, dengan bacaan basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dengan demikian webinar ini secara resmi sudah kita buka bersama-sama supaya saya tidak sendirian membukanya, gitu ya. Demikian. Sekali lagi terima kasih. Mohon maaf apabila ada hal yang kurang berkenan, ya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bapak, izin kami mohon kesediaannya untuk tetap berada di atas panggung. Karena berikutnya kita akan ada penyerahan Cinderamata oleh Kepala Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia didampingi oleh PLT Kepala Pusat Jasa Informasi Perpustakaan dan Pengelolaan Naskah Nusantara kepada narasumber kita yaitu Profesor Mega Subramaniam serta Direktur Eksekutif Aminef Dr. Sandra Hamid, ya. Kepada nama-nama yang telah disebutkan, kami persilahkan untuk naik ke atas panggung. Ya, dilanjutkan dengan foto bersama. Bentar lagi. Baik, dan berikutnya mungkin izin foto bersama dengan peserta juga. Bapak dan Ibu kami persilahkan kembali ke tempatnya. Berikutnya kita akan foto bersama dengan peserta seminar literasi digital pada hari ini. Kami silakan untuk berdiri. Ya, tim dokumentasi silahkan. Ya, boleh semuanya lihat ke kamera, gaya formal dulu ya. 1, 2, 3, sekali lagi. 1, 2, 3. Boleh salam literasi, tangan kanannya membentuk huruf L. 1, 2, 3. Sekali lagi 1, 2, 3. Ya, sudah cukup? Terima kasih, kami silakan untuk duduk kembali. Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian, berikutnya kita akan memasuki acara inti pada hari ini, yaitu seri Puspa Pustaka ke-25, Seminar Literasi Digital dengan tema Literasi Digital, Inklusi Digital, dan Martabat Manusia. Acara ini akan dipandu oleh seorang moderator, yaitu Antariksa Ahmadi MLIS. Beliau merupakan seorang pustakawan literasi informasi di Pusat Jasa Informasi Perpustakaan dan Pengelolaan Naskah Nusantara. Kepada saudara Antariksa, saya persilakan untuk menempati tempat duduk yang ada di depan. Berikutnya saya undang pula untuk maju ke depan narasumber pada hari ini, yaitu Profesor Dr. Mega Subramaniam. Kepada Ibu saya undang untuk duduk ke depan. Baik, Bapak Ibu hadirin yang kami hormati, berikutnya acara akan saya serahkan kepada moderator. Kepada moderator, waktu dan tempat disilahkan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu semua. Ya, terima kasih atas kehadirannya kepada Bapak Ibu semua. Dan ini sebenarnya hal yang sangat spesial juga untuk saya sebagai moderator ya, karena ada Pak Kepala Perpustakaan Nasional, kemudian waktu saya S2 juga sponsornya juga datang, Bu Sandra Hamid. Terima kasih banyak. Profesor saya juga datang, Bu Mega Subramaniam. Jadi ini momen yang sangat berkesan sekali buat saya. Terima kasih banyak atas kehadiran Bapak Ibu semua yang sudah datang pada hari ini. Ini saya izin memperkenalkan sebentar topik kita hari ini dan narasumber kita pada pagi hari ini. Tadi pada waktu Pak Kepala memberikan sambutan dan sekaligus membuka gitu ya bersama-sama dengan kita semua, kata Pak Kepala tadi. Tadi Pak Kepala menyampaikan sebuah pertanyaan yang sangat penting gitu ya, yaitu bagaimana peran perpustakaan terhadap persebaran informasi di saat perpustakaan ini bukan lagi satu-satunya sumber informasi. Nah, ini berhubung ada kita semua yang datang, baik dari pustakawan-pustakawan nasional maupun pustakawan dari berbagai macam asosiasi perpustakaan dan juga Bapak Ibu pegiat literasi, begitu ya. Ini menjadi pertanyaan yang perlu kita jawab, bagaimana ya kita bisa menyusun sebuah kegiatan atau program atau apapun itu namanya yang bisa menguatkan peran perpustakaan, terutama di dalam hal literasi digital. Nah, nanti narasumber kita yaitu Profesor Mega akan memberikan sebuah contoh praktik baik begitu ya di tempat beliau berkarya, yaitu di negara bagian Maryland. Kebetulan di situ juga saya tinggal selama S2 begitu ya. Nah, kita bisa melihat seperti apa sih praktek yang sudah berjalan dan apa yang bisa kita aplikasikan di Indonesia seperti itu. Nah, saya perkenalkan terlebih dahulu narasumber kita yaitu Profesor Dr. Mega Subramaniam. Beliau adalah Fulbright US Scholar yang saat ini mengajar di Universitas Gadjah Mada, dan dalam kapasitas ini beliau berbagi kepakarannya dalam hal memperkuat peran perpustakaan dan meningkatkan literasi digital di kalangan pemuda. Profesor Mega Subramaniam saat ini adalah guru besar di College of Information di University of Maryland College Park, Amerika Serikat. Beliau menggabungkan penelitian dan praktik untuk mendukung
pustakawan dalam masa prakerja maupun dalam masa kerja, serta telah memimpin berbagai perancangan inisiatif dalam pengembangan profesi pustakawan. Karya-karya beliau telah diakui dalam berbagai penghargaan, termasuk Movers and Shakers Award dari Library Journal tahun 2019, YALSA's Outstanding Achievement Award tahun 2020, dan penghargaan Fulbright Specialist dan Fulbright Scholar. Baiklah, tanpa berpanjang lebar lagi, mari kita simak bersama-sama pidato dari Profesor Mega. Untuk Profesor Mega, kami undang untuk menuju podium.
Selamat pagi semua. So, memang benar saya daripada Malaysia. Saya lahir di Malaysia, tapi saya bahasa Melayu saya sudah berkarat ya. Memang benar berkarat. Jadi saya akan mencuba bahasa Indonesia untuk slide pertama sahaja. Selepas itu, permisi daripada bapa dan ibu, saya akan memberikan lecture saya hari ini dalam bahasa Indonesia ya. So, terima kasih atas undangan untuk berbagi kebahagiaan dalam perayaan Hari Ulang Tahun ke-46 Perpustakaan Nasional Republik Indonesia. Saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Profesor Aminuddin Aziz, Kepala Perpustakaan Nasional, atas kesempatan yang diberikan kepada saya. Terima kasih ya Pak. Juga terima kasih kepada Ibu Sandra Hamid, Kepala Aminef, kerana saya ini Fulbright Scholar atas pemberian Aminef ya. Juga terima kasih kepada Pak Ida, teman saya daripada UGM hari ini. Terima kasih Pak. Selain itu, terima kasih kepada Mas Antariksa Ahmadi, lulusan Magister Library and Information Science dari University of Maryland, yang menjadi moderator serta berperanan besar dalam menyelenggarakan acara hari ini. Saya ingin menyampaikan bahawa saya belum fasih berbahasa Indonesia. Oleh itu, dengan izin anda semua, saya akan menyampaikan presentasi ini dalam bahasa Inggeris. Nanti pada sesi tanya jawab, kita bisa campur-campur ya, mix bahasa Indonesia dengan bahasa Inggeris. Dan Mas Antariksa akan membantu dengan penerjemahan jika diperlukan. Okay, so now I'm going to talk in English. Thank you everyone for inviting me. So my primary research area, as Antariksha has mentioned in the introduction, my primary area is digital literacy, specifically the development of learning environments in libraries for the development of emerging digital literacies. So when I say emerging digital literacies, in the recent years, I have examined privacy literacy, computational thinking literacy, and of course, AI literacy. But specifically, most of my work has always been focused on young adults, young people. But today, the work that I'm going to present to you today really cuts across all ages, and more broadly on digital literacy. So today I'm going to share with you Beyond Access, Bridging the Second and Third Level Digital Divide using a community-centered digital literacy initiative. And this is a statewide project at the University of Maryland, and the Office of Statewide Broadband under the Department of Housing and Community Development, they actually funded this work. They gave us $6 million and said, you know, go and make every Marylander digitally literate. Easy, just do that. So we had to figure out the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure to make it happen. So I am going to see if I can advance the slide. Let's see, maybe here. Yep. I think it works now. Okay, so this is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to give you a snapshot of Maryland's digital divide. And then I'm going to share with you the definitions and levels of digital divide. And then I'm going to share with you the entire infrastructure that we built that really is still trying to make every Marylander digital literate. And then I'm going to highlight to you the roles that the libraries, the public libraries played in Marylanders Online. And then I'm going to leave you with a call of action for digital inclusion in Indonesia. And then hopefully we'll have time at the end for Q&A. Okay, so I'm going to share with you this snapshot of Maryland's digital divide. So let's see if it appears. It seems like I have to click multiple times. Okay, so this is the map of the United States. And you should be able, does anyone know where Maryland is? Let's see if it comes out. Okay, so it seems like maybe I have to put it here. So Maryland is a very progressive state with a population of 6.2 million, which I believe is not at all comparable to even the population of Jakarta. I think Jakarta is probably 7 times more. So this is more comparable to the population of Singapore. Singapore has, I think, about 6.2 million. And then about 33% do not have access to computers. Okay, so I think this pointers is, okay, so 18% do not use the internet. So you can see there about 33% do not have access to a computer, and then 18% do not have use to the internet. So this is what we are sort of working with on this project. So let's see if it allows me to go to the next slide. Okay, so now that you have a sense of the digital divide in Maryland, before we move forward, let's define the levels of digital divide. Okay, we're trying to sort out a technical problem here, so let's see. So the statistics I just shared with you is the first level digital divide, which we call as access divide. So access is the gap between those who have access to computers and the internet and those who do not. So that is what we call the first level digital divide. The second level of digital divide is once you have access to the computer, does it give you, let's see. Okay, so once we have access to the computers, then there's the second level of digital divide, which is that do people have the cognitive skills and specific knowledge required to use the computer, the internet, and the technologies? So once you have access to the device, do you now have the skills to use it? The next one is the third level digital divide. So once you have the skills, can you actually do the job that you wanted to do with the skills? Can you achieve your specific objectives? So this is the third level of digital divide. So this project that I'm going to share with you really sort of focus on the second level of digital divide. But in the recent years, it has sort of bled into the third level of digital divide. So I'm going to focus more on the second level digital divide, but like I said, it has sort of bled into the third level of digital divide. Okay, so let me sort of demo this with a person who is a real person, Jack, who I met. And you know, Jack is a really interesting person. I'm going to show you how he moved from bridging the first level of digital divide to the second level digital divide and then the third level digital divide. So say hello to Jack. So Jack is an older adult who received a free Google Chromebook through the free distribution of Google Chromebooks in the state of Maryland. So state of Maryland, if you're under certain income, they gave everyone that were under the certain income level a Chromebook. So now Jack has access. If you remember the first level digital divide, he has a computer And the public library also gave him guidance on how to connect with the internet that is low cost. So he has the computer, he has the internet. So now he has bridged the first level digital divide. So then he learns how to use Google Apps, including Google Meet, through a session at the community library. So he went a few days, learned how to use his Google Chromebook, but specifically, he was very interested in learning to use Google Meet. So now he has the skills to use Google Meet, which means he has crossed, in some way, he has crossed the second level of digital divide that I mentioned earlier. And then he now uses Google Meet to chat with his granddaughter. So Jack lives in Maryland. His granddaughter lives in the other side of the continent, which is in California. So now he has been meeting with his granddaughter regularly. And Jack is an excellent cook. So he even demos to his granddaughter how to cook certain dishes. So remember when I said earlier, the third level digital divide may look different for different people. In terms of Jack, what he really wanted to do is get the skills and then communicate with his granddaughter. And be able to show her what he's doing, be able to teach her things that he knows. So now he has crossed the third level of digital divide. So this is a demo of a digital inclusion journey that I wanted all of you to understand, because giving devices is not sufficient, giving the internet is not sufficient. But once they get that, then they get the skills. That's also really, we shouldn't stop there. We should make sure that they're able to use that skill for their own objectives. So whatever that they want to achieve. So this is sort of the inclusion journey. So for the purpose of for the Marylanders Online project that I shared with you, we wanted to build an infrastructure, a digital infrastructure, whereby we can make people like Jack cross the first level digital divide, second level mostly. We focus on the second level, and then of course get them to the third level. So I want to share with you just a brief introduction to the Marylanders Online project. It started in 2022. We are still doing it. It's been 4 years. We are expected to wrap up by end of this year, and then hopefully we have sustainability plan to move it forward. So the Marylanders Online project really came about with this purpose that we believe that digital literacy is a must, not a choice. And in today's world, being able to navigate the digital world and knowing how to use technology is a necessity, while not everyone is given the privilege and ability to do so. So the mission is to bring digital inclusion to Maryland by providing quality resources and education that help improve digital literacy. So from the Office of Statewide Broadband in the state of Maryland, approached the University of Maryland and specifically approached a unit called University of Maryland Extension. It's a unit within the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences. So just a tiny bit background, University of Maryland is what we call a land grant university. The purpose why that university was built in those days is that we bring the development of seeds and fertilizers to the community. Of course, fast forward now, we are bringing all sorts of development, research, technology and everything to the community. But what University of Maryland Extension has that the other units within campus do not have is the networks and connection to go into community. So that's why the Office of Statewide Broadband gave the funding to this particular unit. But this particular unit had they did not have a digital literacy expert or a scholar or a researcher to help them with this. So they approached College of Information, and that's how I got involved in this process. So this is really a combination of the College of Information, where we train the next generation of library and information professionals, combining them with the University of Maryland Extension, with the desire to bridge the digital divide among Marylanders. So when I say Marylanders, those are residents who live in the state of Maryland, and we call them fondly as Marylanders. So this is how the project actually came about, and it's a collaboration between University of Maryland Extension and also the College of Information. Okay, so I've already talked to you about the second level digital divide and the third level digital divide. So this is kind of the focus. But we also define digital literacy very, very broadly. So if you see the red color bar that runs on top there, we define digital literacy as any skill that one utilizes to successfully access and navigate the digital world. So we really, really defined it very, very broadly. Okay, let's see. Can't move this. Okay, so the key populations for Maryland is online. When the state of Maryland gave us this project, they asked us to focus on all Marylanders. However, they really asked us to pay attention to specific population. These are populations that are marginalized and vulnerable in our community. So they asked us to focus on older adults. They asked us to focus on members of racial and ethnic minority groups. They asked us to focus on immigrant communities, low-income communities, rural communities, and also Baltimore City. Baltimore City is actually a very urban area. It has a population of 1 million, but it also has one of the least adoption of internet and people having access to computers. And then also people facing language barriers. In Maryland, we have a huge population that speaks Spanish, and then also people with disabilities. So yes, focus on all Marylanders, but pay attention to this specific population. That was one of the message that our funder gave us. So moving on, the core goals of Marylanders Online. So the first goal that you see here is to develop digital literacy resources through a community-centered approach. And under there, we have developing and adapting curricula. We also wanted to create a digital literacy repository website. We also wanted to provide training and support for instructors and Marylanders. So, okay, so this is the first goal. I am going to actually explain all of this in the next 30 minutes or so, so bear with me. It's going to be brief, but hopefully it gives you the entire picture. I'm going to start with the first goal, and then I'm going to start, and then I'm going to explain the develop integrated and inclusive services. So let's start with the first goal. So the first goal here, as I mentioned, was to develop digital literacy resources through a community-centered approach. So community-centered approach, that means engaging the community. So we actually did this in various ways. First, we did a stakeholder need assessment, and then we had a digital literacy summit. And then, of course, within 2 or 3 months of starting this project, we got a call from our funder asking, do you have the resources yet, right? So there was this expectation that we will put out the resources pretty quickly. So therefore, what we did is that we started doing that as well. And then we also did interviews with Marylanders, and then we also did a large-scale use and results survey. So let me share with you just briefly the results of our stakeholder needs assessment. So we actually collected 196 responses from digital literacy stakeholders. For the purposes of this study, a stakeholder was defined very broadly as anyone working in the field of digital literacy and inclusion in the United States. So we had about 196 people who participated in this survey. In this first level survey that we did it in 2022, we uncovered the landscape of digital literacy programming and services. So what are the types of programs and services related to digital literacy that was offered throughout the state? And then we also identify existing partnerships. So who is partnering with who in terms of delivering digital literacy program. And then we also ask them what are the aspirational digital literacy programs that you always wanted to do, but just couldn't do it because of various reasons, right? It might be because there was just not enough resources, or maybe not enough time, or maybe just not enough skill. No one knows how to do it. So we uncovered that as well. And then we also, through this survey, we also highlighted, we also found communities that remain underserved in the state of Maryland. And then we also did a digital literacy summit. So the digital literacy summit gathered 80 digital literacy scholars, stakeholders, and practitioners who attended panels and also participated in design sessions on multiple topics, so that related to digital literacy opportunities and also barriers. So during this participatory design session, we were able to discover the nuances. So what are the real problems behind the barriers to acquiring digital literacy, such as needing to have more resources, or maybe resources in just different languages, training that's needed for digital literacy providers. So we really got a lot of data as well from this digital literacy summit. So as I mentioned, we kind of every time we communicate with our funder, they will ask us, so are you ready yet to put things out there for Marylanders, right? So what we did is that we took the 2 data points from the beginning that I showed with you, the stakeholder need assessment and the digital literacy summit, and we started to build some resources. So first of all, we know that there's a lot of digital literacy resources that's already out there. So why create things from scratch, right? So once we analyzed the data from the stakeholder need analysis and the digital literacy summit, and it gave us the topics that people want to learn, we started organizing the topics, we started organizing the subtopics, and then we looked for resources that was already there. Even our partners recommended some resources. Of course, we vetted the resources before we put it on our website. So this is a screenshot of our website, and there's also the link, the URL. It's marylandersonline.umd, as in University of Maryland.edu. You're welcome to look at it and play with it. If you see anything broken, you should tell me after this. But one of the things that we saw, we realized from the 2 data points, is that there are 2 types of people that come to Marylanders Online. One are Marylanders who need help with digital literacy, who want to learn things. And then the others is the digital literacy program providers who want to provide training to their community. So we were figuring out how to organize our website. So that's where in our homepage, you will see 2 big buttons. One is Get Help and one is Give Help. So we actually debated on the label of these buttons for like 2 weeks. So let me just explain to you the Give Help. So the Get Help is actually for any Marylanders. If they need help, they go there and then they get help, right? The Give Help is for the digital literacy program providers so that they can give help to their community members. So that's how we interpret it. So they can come there, they will find lesson plans, session plans, slides, handouts, all those things to deliver workshops for their community. So this is the curation of our resources, and of course, holes that we found. We couldn't really find good resources for some topic, especially with privacy. We developed those resources as well. But as a human-centered design, I'm trained as a human-centered design researcher. We all know that talking to just the digital literacy providers and stakeholders is never enough. We should be going out and talking to the actual people who will be using our resources, who we think may need our resources, right? So my students and I, my doctoral students and I, went around the state of Maryland interviewing Marylanders. It was one of the highlights of this work, really, talking to all facets of people's life. And we talked to about 160 people, ages between 13 to 80. So we really got different types of perspectives. And we really wanted to answer the question, why do Marylanders want or do not want to learn digital literacy skills? And if they do, how do they want to learn it, right? The dots that you see are places where we conducted interviews. So my students and I will go, we'll spend like 2 days in these locations, just at one inside a building. And then, our partners will arrange, people that they see to come and be interviewed by us. But these locations were very carefully selected. If you remember before, I mentioned the core populations that we are interested in. So we went to places where we can get access to the core population. So of course, Baltimore City was one of it. We also did an interview had interviews at senior centers, so we can interview older adults. We also had interviews in a place called Casa de Maryland, which is a place where immigrants go to get help with their immigration paperwork. So we also did an interview there. So now I just want to briefly share the interviews with the Marylanders. So we have a paper on this. You're welcome to read it. I have the citation, and I'd be happy. We are actually sharing the slides with you, so I'll give you the QR code at the end. What we found is that there are 3 types of learners of digital literacy. First is Jack. You already met Jack earlier. Remember Jack? So Jack is the person who wants to learn digital literacy. So these are people who have low to mid-level digital literacy, very excited about learning, and also very fearful. You all know FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. So these are people who are very fearful that they will miss out of opportunities if they don't get digital literacy. And they want to learn through structured, hands-on educational experiences. And then we have people like Nina. Nina is like ambivalent about digital literacy learning. These are often people who have mid to high level digital literacy. So Nina actually can do most of the things on her own. She's pretty cool. She's like does it on her own, but sometimes need help. But when she needs help, she goes to people that she knows, like her children or her, very close friends. And then we found this type of people are very self-reliant actually. And really, they want to find things on their own. And if they get stuck, they go to their very close family members. And then, of course, we met people like Marcus. These are Marylanders who do not want to learn. Marcus is against the digital world. He thinks technology is going to overtake everything. Technology is mean. It's going to take over the world. But Marcus also needs to make doctor's appointment. When he goes to the doctor's office, after the end of it, the receptionist says, "Oh, go to our website or go to our app and make an appointment." So he gets those type of push where he really has to do it, has to go get the digital skills, although he doesn't really want to. So people like Marcus will look for one-to-one instruction. He just wants to get that work done and then move on. So in terms of how Marylanders want to learn, is that we found, if you see the red bar there, they want to learn by doing, they want to teach themselves, they also want structured education, and then, they just also sometimes just want to ask others and get it done. So last data point here is the use and results survey. So this is also published, and you can take a look at the paper. The goal of the Use and Results Survey is to measure digital literacy programs' effectiveness in supporting the achievement of tangible benefits of digital literacy beyond simply acquiring it. So we actually surveyed 305 Maryland residents with experience in different digital literacy programs. So long story short, we found that frequent digital literacy program users must be accompanied by high motivation for initial technology adoption and high autonomy in technology behavior to have digital literacy gain. What does that mean in terms of our resources that we are building is that we have to integrate motivational components. We also have to integrate high autonomy moments into our resources. So we tried to do that as well. So if you remember all the data that I just shared with you, the stakeholder need assessment, the digital literacy summit, interviews with Marylanders, use and results survey, this is our community-centered approach towards the resource development and compilation. So we are finding out what are the topics, resources that we need to include, what are the different types of programs and training materials that we need to provide to our digital literacy providers, and then so that they can work with the different types of learners that I showed with you just now, the 3 types of learners. I should also mention I did do the 3 types of learners, but we also found people that are kind of in between those learners as well. So we try to accommodate them as well. So I'm going to move on to the second core goal of Marylanders Online, which is to develop integrated and inclusive services. This one has a few things underneath it, which is the call center. And of course, if I don't mention AI in one presentation, then I think I'm doomed. So I have to mention AI, but this is indeed part of our Marylanders Online. We actually have a powered chatbot now. And then we also are training digital navigators, develop network of community centers, asset mapping of local resources. So let me walk you through very quickly on this one. Okay, so Marylanders Online Call Center. So this was one of the first thing we set up as soon as we got our grant. This is a call center that anyone in Maryland, if you bought a new phone and you don't know how to set it up, you can call this call center. This is at first it was running 8 a.m. and to 8 p.m. every day, and we primarily had people who are answering the calls, who we call as digital navigators, in 2 languages, English and also Spanish. And most of the digital navigators are actually University of Maryland students. We had information science students, library and information science students. We have computer science students who all served as digital navigators. So this is basically like a helpline people can call. And as you can see, there was an uptick in 2024. We actually got 18,000 plus calls that year. And that is because that was the year that the state decided to distribute Google Chromebook. So people were getting Google Chromebooks, and there was just a lot of calls that we got. This is also available in this call center, also available in 180 languages, although we only have digital navigators for the 2, the English and the Spanish. However, if someone else who calls with a different need language, let's say Swahili or maybe Indonesian, we have people that we can call, the interpreters, who we will say, okay, we will give you a call tomorrow with the interpreter, and then we will solve your tech problem. So that's how we've been working in terms of the different languages that we have. So this is just the flyer that we use to promote. This is one of our most popular services. Actually, wherever we go in the state of Maryland, when we say we are Marylanders Online, this is the first thing they will ask. Oh, you're the people behind the call center. Yes, that's us. Of course, like I said, we also leverage artificial intelligence, And this really helped us because we were getting so many calls to the call center. And we realized that we could use AI to answer some of the questions where the answer to the questions is already in the digital resources that we developed. So this was only recently introduced in 2 months ago, March 2026. Of course, Marylanders Online, MO. So we named our digital navigator chatbot Mo. So Mo is our digital navigator chatbot. It's 24/7, it's multilingual. We leveraged Turp AI, which is a chatbot platform powered by OpenAI that the University of Maryland Division of Information Technology introduced in January 2025. We also have, so you can see that the digital infrastructure that we build comes in multiple forms. We also hired tech extension educators, so technology extension educators who are fully aware of our resources and also serve as another point of bringing digital literacy learning to Marylanders. They provide training to other digital literacy providers as well as train existing and new digital navigators in partner organizations like libraries, senior centers, and even they actually went to prison to train prisoners as well. So they are really, really well connected with this community. Okay, so this is another piece. This was my sweat and tears for the past 1 year. I actually really spent a lot of time developing this training for digital navigators. So I'm not really sure. This might be quite similar to your initiative of relevant literacy. This is more for digital literacy. This digital navigators concept is very popular in the United States as a whole. So navigators can be volunteers. They can also be staff in nonprofit organizations and also in libraries. And they can even be dedicated new hires that we call digital navigators who offer guidance on connectivity, devices, and digital skills. Typically, they are at trusted community-based organizations. So they are placed in libraries, they are in senior centers. But recently, we also have found out that digital navigators are in apartment complex. You know, some apartment complex have like a community center at the lower level. So they are placed there. They are just there for people in the apartment to ask them tech questions. We also have digital navigators in laundromats because people come and do their laundry and then they are like doing things with their phone or with the computer. So digital navigators are also there. But one of the things that we realize is that we need to train the digital navigators. So digital navigators are very familiar with the community resources and they can help the residents to get to critical services. And because of the relationship that digital navigators have with their community, sometimes community members come back and check with them again, or they go to the community members and say, hey, the other day you wanted to do this, did you get to it? So they have those type of relationship. So we decided to leverage those relationship and design this training called Marylanders Online Navigator Education Toolkit. We call it MONE. It has 12 online modules. It has in-person workshops as well. The digital navigators get trained. They do 3 or 4 online modules, and then they come together and have a discussion of like scenarios of people that might come and ask for help. So we have all the workshop materials, the slide deck, the lesson plans, learner handout. Actually, if you access the QR code, you can get to them. It's open for anybody to use it. It's licensed under Creative Commons. We just ask you to give credit to the University of Maryland, but it's really open for everyone. However, what you see is just the curriculum. So we actually are hosting the curriculum under the University of Maryland Open Learning Catalog. We use a learning management system called Canvas. And we are offering the Monet training quite systematically to digital navigators who want to train. So we offer them a certificate if they want, or we offer them continuing education units. So some, for example, librarians need continuing education units every year. They have to get certain number of CEUs, continuing education units. So we offer them as well if they would want to get that. So it's really been great. We have trained hundreds and hundreds of digital navigators, and we also heard now the digital navigators are training other digital navigators. So it has been really one of our highlight of Marylanders Online. One of the joy of doing this work is that whenever we go to any part of Maryland, when they see us, we have our T-shirt, Marylanders Online. I considered wearing the T-shirt today, but I thought maybe it wasn't appropriate. So we have this network of partners. We have 84 solid partners, and they will call us for any of their events. We will never say no. We will always go. And same thing when we call them for any of our events, they will come as well and support. This has been a truly remarkable network of partners, and we really support each other as well. So lastly, I want to share one other infrastructure that we built, which is asset mapping. And the asset mapping has a few things. If you remember the 3 levels of digital divide, the first level is that we can't really do all this if people don't have access to computers and internet, right? You can't really get to the second level of the digital divide. You can't teach them skills if they don't have devices. So actually what we did is that we documented all the places where devices are being given free. So that resource is also available on our website. And then we also, we have a computer scientist in our team, and he actually built this interactive map. You can find out where are the Wi-Fi locations in the community. So you can also do that. And then this is actually not our tool. This is a tool developed by the Pennsylvania State University. And this is a broadband navigator. So basically, this is an interactive broadband map that utilizes census data to illustrate where is the best available internet service, and by zip code. So you can actually put your zip code in, and then they can figure out like where is the best broadband infrastructure or the nearest broadband infrastructure. So I'm going to close with these 2 slides. First is that I want to also emphasize how libraries are like the backbone of Marylanders Online. They have been powering Marylanders Online. First is that they have been the really dynamic and passionate partner. In fact, our very first partner when we started in 2022 is the Maryland State Library Agency. In fact, they reached out to us and said, can we partner? Can we do things together? So for me, libraries, and I'm of course, biased because I'm also a library researcher. So I see extreme passion and, in libraries adopting Marylanders Online. They are also early adopters to our resources and also champions our resources to their community members. They actually point our resources whenever anyone comes to the library. They are also innovation pilots and testers. The idea of Monet, the Marylanders Online Navigator Training Toolkit I showed earlier, didn't actually come from me. I went on a road trip to make presentations about Marylanders Online when we got the grant, saying that this is coming to you soon. And I went into a session with the Maryland State Public Library directors. And after my presentation, one of the directors came to me and asked, we have a lot of people in our community who want to be digital navigators. Can you train them? And I thought a minute and I said, yeah, I think we can. Can we use your library as a pilot test? Can we pilot test your materials with the digital navigators in your library? And of course they said yes. They actually spent, their own funds to recruit digital navigators. And really, I felt that if it was not for, you all may have heard about this eNote Pratt Free Library. It's the biggest library, one of the biggest and progressive library systems in the United States, and they are the ones who pilot tested Monet. And then, of course, librarians are the OG digital navigators, right? We are the original digital navigators, even pre-digital information. If people want information, they come to the library. Libraries are indeed one of the most trusted information source. I have heard stories sometimes from when I do my own research with libraries, is that sometimes family members don't know certain information yet, but the librarian might know because one of the family members already told them, right? So that's the relationship that public libraries have. And for me, libraries have really a special place in this Marylanders Online project because they are the original digital navigators. So I'm going to close today with this call for action for digital inclusion in Indonesia. And I want to leave you with a few questions. So what will it take for every Indonesian to move beyond access? I know your adoption of cell phones are there, but I also know that even that some people don't have. So what will it take for every Indonesian to move beyond access? So think about not just having the computers, the access, the internet, but to get the skills to bridge the second level digital divide. So developing digital literacy skills, and then to real outcomes. Can they achieve the objectives, the aims that they have? So what will it take for every Indonesian to move beyond access to developing digital literacy skills and real outcomes? What can be adopted and scaled from Marylanders Online? Ours is more like it's serving 6 million population. Okay? You all have a larger big time population, but is there something that can be adopted and scaled and learned from Marylanders Online? And then how can libraries lead a nationwide digital inclusion movement? And I think these are great questions to ask at Perpustakaan Nasional. So I leave you with this question: what will your version of Marylanders Online look like in Indonesia? It may not look the same, right? It probably will not look the same, but what will it look like in Indonesia? So with that, I want to acknowledge the Department of Housing and Community Development for funding this work. You see so many logos on this slide. I have a lot of people to thank. University of Maryland Extension, my collaborator, my own college, College of Information, that whole line under Maryland State Library Agency, Maryland Deaf Culture, Rural Maryland Council, Department of Aging, National Digital Inclusion Alliance. They are all our partners and they have significantly helped our work. So I cannot be here saying that this was all University of Maryland. This was kind of a joint effort. It takes a village to pull together a project like this. And then, of course, I want to thank Perpustakaan Nasional for inviting me today, and then Universitas Gadjah Mada for hosting me as a Fulbright scholar. Also, special thanks to these two wonderful individuals, Mas Antariksha and also Pak Suharyanto, who's not here today. I met him this morning. When I first landed here in Jakarta, they welcomed me. They, welcomed me and my husband, and they arranged, lunch for us and everything. So I'm really, really indebted to these two just wonderful, kind-hearted individual. And then, of course, special thanks to Fulbright program, Dr. Safira and her wonderful team, who is also here from Aminef here. Aminef people, can you wave? Yes. So these are, again, one of the most kind-hearted human beings. I kind of message them sometimes. oftentimes really asking them questions, and they are so on point, and they are very, very helpful. So I cannot be here today if it's not because of the support of IMF. So I'm very, very thankful. This has been a wonderful experience. I have 3 more months to go in Jogja before I leave. So not so much time, but I have learned a lot in this last 3 years. So let's see if I can advance to my last slide. So I want to thank all of you. But before I do that, I also have the slides from today. If you scan the QR code, you should be able to access the slides from today, as well as Antariksha also has translated my slide to Indonesian. So thank you, Antariksha. So you can see the slides as well in Bahasa Indonesia. And if you can access the website, there's also a short link to access the website. And with that, terima kasih ya. Thank you.
Ya. Oke, baik. Mari kita berikan apresiasi yang setinggi-tingginya kembali kepada Profesor Mega. Ya, saya yakin ini adalah sesuatu yang baru ya buat kita semua. Ini saya beritahukan juga selain di sini ya, di depan kita semua, ini sudah ada sekitar 490 orang yang mengikuti kita lewat Zoom gitu ya. Kalau YouTube saya kurang tahu nih, berapa? Ya, ya pokoknya lebih gitu ya. Jadi tidak hanya di depan kita ini Bu Mega, tapi juga beberapa ratusan lagi para pustakawan dan pegiat literasi dari seluruh Indonesia yang menyaksikan paparan Ibu barusan begitu. 250 ya, ya berarti sekitar 700 lebih Bu. Ya ditambah yang di sini 100 gitulah. Ya, jadi sekali lagi terima kasih atas paparan yang sangat bermanfaat ya bagi kita semua. Nah sekarang kita ada sedikit diskusi ya, atau tanya jawab Profesor Mega. Nah ini sistemnya seperti ini. Nanti silakan Bapak Ibu yang mau bertanya, kita sediakan mic di tengah. Mungkin boleh menuju ke sana. Itu ada mic di situ. Nah nanti boleh menuju ke sana. Tapi sebelum ya silakan boleh baris di depan mic ya, supaya kita juga tahu berapa orang yang bertanya. Ya. Takut saya nanti kalau saya nunjuk nanti saya bias gitu. Jadi ya mungkin seperti ini. Baik. Tapi sebelumnya mungkin Bapak Ibu dari pimpinan mungkin ada yang mau memberikan pertanyaan atau tanggapan atau semacamnya. Mungkin para Bapak Ibu mungkin boleh ada yang mau disampaikan dulu. Ya. Gak apa-apa, mungkin boleh izin Pak Wira dulu ya sebentar. Ya. Ya, ini Pak Wiratna dari Pusat Data dan Informasi, ya, Data and Information Center from National Library, ya. Ya, baik pertama kami persilakan.
Thank you.
Ya.
Nice to meet you, Mrs. Mega. Pakai bahasa Indonesia aja ya, biar semua pada dengar ya. Termasuk Bu Mega nanti biar namanya apa terbiasa dengan bahasa Melayu atau bahasa Indonesia. Jadi gini, biar nggak karatan ya Bu. Terima kasih. Ini terkait dengan khususnya di Indonesia Bu Mega. Jadi di Indonesia itu konsepnya adalah given kadang-kadang. Jadi semua instruksi-instruksi diberikan. Ya. Yang saya tanyakan, yang pertama saya cukup kaget bahwa di Amerika itu sendiri pun di Maryland terutama itu memang 30% itu terkait dengan literasi digital sangat bisa dikatakan minim ya. Ya, saya berpikir Amerika sudah negara yang cukup maju dan literasi digitalnya sangat tinggi. Ya, ternyata 33% itu tidak. Yang saya tanyakan di situ Amerika memang kuat terkait dengan masalah assessment dan kemudian survei-survei. Ya. Nah, pertanyaan saya pertama adalah bagaimana meyakinkan kepada stakeholder, terutama yang tadi di Marylanders atau mungkin Pak Ida Texan ya. Pak Ida karena sudah di Texas ya, Texan ya. Kemudian di Indonesia termasuk juga di Malaysia di mana tingkat literasinya mungkin jauh lebih rendah ya dibandingkan dengan Amerika. Bagaimana meyakinkan kepada partisipan, kepada stakeholder untuk melakukan assessment dan survei kadang-kadang di negara-negara berkembang untuk melakukan assessment dan survei itu agak sedikit namanya apa malas gitu, ogah-ogahan ya bisa dikatakan. Nah, itu bagaimana meyakinkan mereka untuk ikut berpartisipasi untuk mengisi survei ataukah assessment dan sebagainya. Dan saya lihat memang dulu kita memiliki program yang namanya program Coca-Cola Foundation, Bu, dari Amineh mohon izin, itu cukup baik ya. Tapi sayang sekali mungkin tidak berlanjut kembali ya. Di situ assessment dan survei itu sangat masif sekali dan partisipannya juga cukup aktif di situ. Nah, ini bagaimana triknya? Mungkin Bu Mega bisa melihat ya bagaimana agar si partisipan tersebut ikut aktif di dalamnya. Karena sifatnya kadang-kadang di Indonesia adalah bukan bottom up tapi top down ya. Jadi memberikan langsung given kira-kira seperti itu. Itu yang pertama. Kemudian yang kedua terkait dengan literasi digital ini ya, apakah dengan model-model seperti yang tadi ya, saya melihat sangat sederhana memang ya terkait dengan hal tersebut, sangat sederhana. Dan di Indonesia apakah itu cocok untuk negara-negara ya maju seperti mungkin di Indonesia atau di Malaysia? Mungkin gitu saja dari saya. Terima kasih. Mungkin bisa diterjemahkan ini ya langsung dengan Mas Antariksa, silakan.
Iya Pak Wira, terima kasih. Prof Mega, apakah butuh unit translation for? Okay, you can answer the first question first ya, silakan.
Okay, terima kasih ya Pak for that question. Thank you. That's a really good question. So I'll answer the first question first. So the way we got access to get Marylanders to be interviewed by us and to get them to complete the survey is because of the relationship that the partners had with them, not with the University of Maryland, right? But the partners that we have engaged to actually distribute the survey and conduct the interviews. If you remember the slide I showed earlier where we had the interviews that we conducted with Marylanders, those were actually located at partner locations. So partners actually, because they have a relationship with the community, we are coming from the University of Maryland. Sometimes we are considered like the ivory tower, right? We are, sometimes people think that we are like the most educated people, we are like at that level, and sometimes people are not very comfortable telling us what their problems are. However, through our partners also were there actually conducting the interviews on behalf of us. But we trained them, we gave them all the questions and everything. So that's how we were connected to to be able to talk to this many Marylanders. Even the survey, we had to close the survey after 2 days because we got, various, we had a way to distribute it and we hit all the main community populations that we want to hit. Within 2 days, my postdoctoral researcher came to me and said, Mega, we already have over 300. Should we close it? And I said, okay, go ahead and close it, right? So that's how quick the message went to because I've already told our partners, we're going to release the survey, tell your people to take them. The other thing that I also want to mention is that surveys work, but not all the time. Okay? There's a survey fatigue. I think you use the word mungkin malas ya. Tapi I also think that there's a lot of surveys, so there's like survey fatigue, right? But there are now ways to do moment surveys, right? Like it's a very informal survey, which you can tell your partner, give them 3 short questions to ask the participants or to ask the public, and that is actually enough for you to first kick off this type of project. And then maybe we call that pulse surveys, pulse, like your pulse, pulse survey. And those surveys are actually very, very effective. Because sometimes people don't want to sit 10, 15 minutes to complete a survey. And also the other thing, some may have traditional literacy issues, so they can't read the survey. So you want to get those type of population as well to answer this question. So sometimes those pulse informal survey, although it's in the form of you asking them questions verbally, that also works. I hope that answered your question. What's the second question?
Ya, tadi kalau saya tidak salah menangkap tentang ini ya, apakah model ini sesuai gitu ya dengan model yang kesenjangan digital atau digital divide? Apakah model ini dapat diterapkan juga begitu ya di masyarakat kita di Indonesia, atau mungkin Prof Mega bisa melihatnya dengan masyarakat yang dekat dengan kita, yaitu masyarakat Malaysia? Apakah model kesenjangan digital ini bisa kita pakai juga untuk menganalisis gitu? Do you need me to translate? Okay. Yeah.
Bisa, Pak. I think because this level of digital divide is actually the scholar that came up with the definitions of digital divide. He's called Ben Jick. He's a European scholar. However, he actually has done a lot of work in Asia and also in the global South as well. So this is very applicable. The way he described the digital divide, access, use, and then result, is applicable to everyone all over the world. So I think that's the model that you want to draw upon. However, the Marylanders online model, right? Again, we worked with our community. They told us what are the resources. They told us what are the infrastructure that we should build. So we listen to them, we listen to our partners, and we build it. It's not, like you said, it's not top down. Yeah? The ideas came from our community, and then we built it. So of course the adoption is pretty good, but the same digital infrastructure may or may not work for Indonesia. Indonesian people may need different things, may need different types of resources, may respond to different types of things. So I think you have to think about how the digital divide bridge can be crossed, both the first level, second level, third level bridges. How can that be crossed? What would that version look like for Indonesia? Thank you.
Baik, terima kasih Profesor Mega. Terima kasih Pak Wira atas pertanyaannya. Mungkin langsung saja kita ke yang tadi bertanya ya. Tadi sudah diurutkan ya, yang pertama siapa? Pak Irhamni mungkin ya. Oke. Ya. Mungkin walaupun sudah kenal, mungkin boleh perkenalan lagi Pak Irhamni.
Okay.
Ya, untuk audiens yang lain ya.
All right, good morning. My name is Irhamni. I'm a data scientist from the National Library of Indonesia. So yeah, I'm really impressed what you have done with the project today. But we do have the same project actually called the Relima, Relawan Literasi Masyarakat. We have approximately about 360 agents out there trying to work with us, the National Library of Indonesia, to spread the literacy. However, we need your explanation regarding on how we measure the result on the program. I think that's all for me for the questions. It's really simple. What kind of methods do you use, and what is kind of result? How we can measure the result and the impact of the program. I think that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih Pak Irhamni. Silakan. No need. Ya. Oke, ya. Oke. Saya terjemahin sebentar ya. Tadi ditanya Profesor Mega. Ini tadi Pak Irhamni mengatakan tentang program 5 ya, yang sebenarnya sangat mirip dengan Marylanders Online. Yang ditanyakan tadi adalah soal bagaimana pengukuran gitu ya, assessment daripada program tersebut gitu ya. Kira-kira apa yang bisa kita gunakan gitu ya untuk menilai atau mengukur dampak dari program-program seperti ini, baik Marylanders Online maupun program dari Relima seperti itu. Silakan Profesor.
Good question, Dr. Ilhamni. I think he's a Texan also, sort of, right? Okay, yeah. So great question, and from you, I have heard about this Relawan Literasi. I believe this is a project that's really focused on more on traditional literacies, but you're also trying to bring, components of digital literacy. So again, kudos to you and your team for embarking this really ambitious project. I think you have recruited 360 people already this year, right? So I'm happy to talk to you more about how we can perhaps bring some of these components that we have been developing in Marylanders Online. And of course, like I said, it may look differently. I'm going to try to answer your question about measuring success. Okay. So there are two things that we think about in this work, right? One is the impact in practice, right? So are people actually crossing the second level digital divide? Are people crossing the third level digital divide? Are the digital navigators that we are training, are they able to then go and help their community? What type of questions are they getting? How are they solving it? So we are really sort of looking at the impact of practice. And of course, there's also impact on research, right? So for research, you may run sort of this, the survey we ran was really has practical contribution, but also it really advances scholarly work, right? But in this work, we kind of, the scholarly work really took it went to the back burner, and we really focus on impact on practice, right? So our funder is a government. So with government, they always ask for KPI. So numbers, right? So we captured how many people we serve, where, which population, which region, how many call centers, calls were made to the call center, how many digital navigators that we trained, all those numbers we captured. And I'm happy to give you a report that we produced that has all the numbers. But I can tell you the numbers are numbers, right? We also know X number of people come to the library, right? But what do they do in the library is the more important thing, right? Are they achieving the objectives that they want to achieve in life, right? So me and my team, we actually go to the next level where we see what success looks like after getting the digital literacy skills, what that success looks like in the life of a Marylander, right? So this is where it's bridging sort of the third level digital divide. So we have done a lot of qualitative interviews in order to capture that. One other way we are also capturing that type of success is through our digital navigators. They have a sheet that they complete every day, which is that we categorize different types of levels that they help. So one is someone says, can you show me where I can get information about how to apply for Social Security benefits, which is very big in the US, and they show it. That's kind of level 1. It's just giving them that information. The highest level is level 5, where they actually sit with them, they show them, they apply for the Social Security benefit, and then they actually apply and they get the benefit, and then they come back and tell the digital navigator that, you showed me this, and it came through in the mail the other day, right? So we actually asked the digital navigators to track those. We found that is the best way to get to the community one person at a time. And for me, those stories that we get from the digital navigators are the most valuable in terms of accessing the impact of Marylanders Online. People's stories are the most relevant, and we know whether we are achieving our goals or not through people's stories. So I hope that helped, Professor.
Baik, terima kasih jawabannya Profesor Mega. Jadi ada kombinasi begitu ya dalam penilaiannya, meskipun kita juga harus mengikuti apa yang diminta oleh pemerintah atau government gitu ya. Baik, untuk supaya tidak berpanjang lagi, kita langsung aja ke pertanyaan berikutnya. Ibu, terima kasih. Dari mana Ibu dan dengan
iya.
siapa?
Terima kasih, biar nggak tegang, saya mungkin pantun dulu.
Oke, silakan. Profesor Mega tahu pantun tidak? Tahu ya? Ya, oke. Silakan Ibu, mainkan Bu.
Iya.
Ya.
Beli motor di hari Selasa.
Cakep.
Terima kasih moderator. Mas Antariksa.
Artinya.
Mau nanti karena saya pakai bahasa Indonesia jadi nanti diterjemahkan.
Ya, silakan Ibu ya.
Iya. Saya Bu Prapti dari Bekasi,
Ya, Ibu.
mantan guru. Biasanya kalau saya ngajar tuh saya giring ke perpustakaan terus kalau hal-hal yang itu. Menurut narasumber yang cantik, apa tanda seseorang sudah memiliki literasi digital yang baik di kehidupan sehari-hari? Apakah inklusi digital bisa tercapai jika akses internet dan gawai masih tidak merata? Dan apa solusinya? Dan terakhir, apakah etika berkomunikasi di dunia nyata dan dunia maya harus sama dan mengapa? Baik, terakhir, beli bihun di McDonald,
Cakep.
beli baju bergambar ikan dan angsa.
Artinya.
Selamat ulang tahun Perpustakaan Nasional. Terus maju, mencerdaskan kehidupan bangsa. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Ini berarti hadiah dari Bu Prapti ya untuk Perpustakaan Nasional dan pantun yang sangat luar biasa. Terima kasih Bu Prapti. Bu Prapti. Baik, Prof. Nega mau langsung menjawab atau mungkin ada yang perlu saya jelaskan?
Okay, terima kasih Ibu. Pantun saya when I was in Malaysia, sudah lama ya, masa itu saya sekolah menengah atas. Saya juara pantun di sekolah saya. Tapi sekarang saya sudah lupa semuanya. Okay, so I'll try to answer the question, Ibu. I think you raised 3 questions. I already forgot them because I was listening to your pantun. But I think one of your question is that what success looks like when you have achieved digital literacy. It's a really, really good question. And the success will look different in different people. If you remember Jack just now, right? Jack, his whole thing about getting digital literacy is so that he can use his Chromebook and communicate with his grandchildren. That's all. Because his grandchildren moved to other part of the continent and he wanted to do that, right? So he that's already, for him, that's already a success. He got the skills to use Google Meet and he used it. He was able to do that. But there might be more things that he want to do, right? Like he might want to see what are the social media postings that his grandparents are grandchildren are posting. So those things, again, the success may look different for different people. I worked with an individual where he was really struggling with health issues, and every single doctor was using apps to make appointment. You now have to log into a portal to check the blood work, your scan and everything. And for him, it was really important he get the skills in order to be able to access the app, look at his blood work results and all that. So once he was able to do that, that was success for him in terms of getting digital literacy. I forgot the other 2 questions. I think the other one is the ethics between we interacting in everyday sort of non-digital world and digital world, I think. Is that right? So this is a fabulous question. The ethics, we have in each culture, Indonesian culture is very rich in your values. And the values are going to be not in sync with the social media or other things that you see online, because the developers may not have integrated your values into the development of social media. Yeah? Because the social media, again, that was developed came from the Western world. So therefore, those type of values may not be there. So I think, in my opinion, those values need to be incorporated in there. So before using those type of social media, it's really a question if what are the values that we want to bring into that participation. So my answer to that question is that I believe the ethics differ, and I believe the ethics and the values of using digital resources need to be taught to our community, especially for young people, because it's easy to kind of just go with the flow. But I think it's important to be really taught, and I think we have school librarians who may be able to do this. We have parents. We also have public librarians who may be able to do this. What's the
So the other question is about how do we achieve digital inclusion with the limited resources that we have, especially devices that a lot of people don't have, especially those coming from the, I think, tadi Bu Bapti menyampaikan from the lower socioeconomic status. Yeah.
So it's really difficult to cross the second level digital divide without having access to devices and internet first. However, institutions like public libraries can play a role in terms of providing those resources. I know that's already happening. I know in Perpustakaan Nasional that's also already happening. But people also need to have those type of devices, right? At home, in other places that they can do. So I would say it's really difficult for people to cross the second level digital divide if they don't have access. Even having access to a phone, it's a first step. However, we all know that accessibility on phone differs, right? I don't know how it is here, but in the US, if you try to access government websites on your phone, it's really difficult because some of these websites are not designed to be mobile friendly. So, you can't really complete a PDF, all those things becomes very troubling. So you may want to sort of think about that. But, it shouldn't stop people from getting digital literacy skills because devices can be obtained in libraries and also in other places, in places where this type of help is provided, such as nonprofits and so on.
Baik, berarti seperti itu ya. Apakah ada yang perlu saya? Oh iya, baik ya. Jadi saya jelaskan dulu ya. Yang pertama ini saya mengutip dari Profesor Mega tadi, gitu ya. Jadi untuk tanda-tanda literasi digital itu yang pada tingkat awalnya itu kita bisa melihat dari bagaimana tujuan digitalnya itu tercapai, begitu ya. Kemudian yang untuk selanjutnya yang mungkin di tingkatan yang selanjutnya itu tergantung dari tujuannya masing-masing ini apa gitu. Jadi kita harus kaitkan dengan ketika mereka menggunakan perangkat digital itu mereka tujuannya mau apa begitu. Dan itu dari situlah kita bisa menilai keberhasilan literasi digitalnya seperti apa begitu. Kemudian kalau untuk pertanyaan yang tentang tadi yang pertanyaan kedua yang tentang bagaimana kita mencapai inklusi digital dengan ketersediaan perangkat yang terbatas gitu ya. Nah ini walaupun dijawabnya ketiga saya sampaikan yang kedua karena urutannya dari Ibu seperti itu. Jadi tadi kalau saya mencarikan jawabannya itulah peran dari institusi-institusi seperti perusahaan nasional, apalagi perusahaan sekolah gitu ya, yang jumlahnya paling banyak begitu. Nah itu sebenarnya dengan kesediaan perangkat-perangkat dari lembaga ini itu sebenarnya bisa menjadi sebuah jembatan begitu ya untuk menjawab keharusan kita untuk mencapai inklusi digital. Kira-kira inti saya jawabnya seperti itu. Kemudian yang ketiga, dari segi etika berinteraksi, apakah dunia nyata dengan dunia digital itu apakah berbeda atau berbeda seperti apa? Tentunya perbedaan itu tergantung daripada nilai-nilai apa yang mau kita bawa di dalam interaksi kita tersebut gitu ya. Jadi itu kita cocokkan dengan nilai yang kita punya dan kita mau bawakan di dalam interaksi tersebut. Karena kan cara berinteraksinya pun berbeda begitu. Kira-kira seperti itu, ini saja jawabannya. Ya, terima kasih ya Bu. Ya, baik Ibu, yang pertanyaan berikutnya Ibu, terima kasih sudah menunggu ya. Silakan Ibu, boleh perkenalan dulu dari namanya siapa, Ibu dari mana?
Baik, terima kasih Mas atas kesempatannya. Nice to meet you, Mega. My name is Rahma. I'm a school librarian. Now I am president of School Library Association. My first question, so if your mail is berkarat, my English is getting rusty. So I will post my question in English to practice. My first question is similar to Pak Irhami. So it's already answered. Just wondering the level of digital literacy among the Maryland before and after, and how does this level comparing to other states in US, and how differ the digital literacy level among the young people? I think in Indonesia, young people don't have any problem with accessing digital resources, but they still have problem to evaluate information they get and how to use it ethically, and how can we as a school librarian teach or emphasize that that's also a digital skill that they have to acquire. Thank you.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Rahmawati. Silakan.
Thank you for asking that really good question. Yesterday, I was at Universitas Ayasi, and there were all my attendees yesterday was school librarians. So I got to know the school librarians around this region yesterday. So thank you for coming today. So to answer your question, there is this notion that young people are digital natives. They are not, right? That notion has been debunked because yes, they may be able to access computers, learn things, pretty quickly and all that. But there are various other. If you saw the definition of digital literacy that I presented was very broad, right? So therefore, there's a lot of other skills that they need to have. In fact, Ibu yang bertanya tadi ya, she asked question about ethics, right? So even information ethics is also a skill that people have to have. Now we are using AI. There's a responsible use of AI as well. That's also another skill that young people have to obtain. And I think you really hammered down the point of accessing the credibility of information, which is hardest to do in the age of AI with all the deep fakes and so on, right? Deep fakes where they are so real to the extent that young people, start reposting them and thinking that they are the truth, right? So I think those are the skills that we need to give to young people. And I think school librarians are really placed very, very nicely to do that type of work because you actually meet these young people almost every day. I know yesterday when I was attending that, I know there are challenges in terms of how school librarians are structured within the university and whether you can teach or not, but we can try to figure that out. In like maybe sort of it probably needs to be done, school by school, because every school I feel that the arrangement is very different. What was the other question? Was there two questions? Oh, yes. Thank you, Alisha. Oh, digital literacy compared to other states. So I don't have the data for the second level digital divide, which is the digital literacy divide that you have. I do have the data for access, the first level of digital divide. And I think there are a couple of states, maybe a handful of states, there are still higher, we have a higher percentage of people that do not have access to computers and internet. So for example, Puerto Rico was hit with this hurricane a couple of years back, and their access to internet, inability to access the internet, and also having access to devices have risen to 40%. 40% of the population do not have access to computer or internet. So at least this was the data that I saw about 2 years back. So we have that access to data on the first level digital divide, but not so much on the second level or third level digital divide from other states. So I'm not very familiar with that. But I can definitely share with you the first level if you're interested in other states. But we are pretty comparable in the sense that ours is considered one of the worst in the United States.
Baik, terima kasih Prof. Mega. Saya bacakan jawabannya sedikit ya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi kalau untuk tingkatan digital di Maryland dengan negara-negara bagian di Amerika Serikat, ini secara tingkat akses itu sudah merupakan salah satu yang terbaik gitu ya. Dan tapi untuk yang tingkat 2 dan 3 ini memang masih perlu ada assessment yang lebih mendalam gitu ya. Kemudian untuk yang juga penting ya terkait dengan kelompok muda gitu ya, kelompok yang sangat menjadi sasaran dari perpustakaan sekolah gitu ya. Nah kebetulan ini saya sama Bu Rahmawati ini adalah ketua dari Asosiasi Tenaga Perpustakaan Sekolah Indonesia di tingkat nasional. Jadi similar to SLA, School Library Association in the US. Jadi nanti mungkin boleh bisa bisa berinteraksi di luar acara gitu ya. Nah untuk kaum pemuda ternyata tadi Bu Profesor menyampaikan bahwa pemuda itu bukan digital native gitu ya. Itu adalah salah satu mungkin asumsi gitu ya, karena mungkin muda maka pemerintahan digital tidak gitu ya Prof. Nanti ini bisa jadi satu top tersendiri begitu ya. Terus jadi selain ke tingkat kemahiran gitu ya menggunakan digital, tapi ternyata juga ada aspek etika tadi seperti yang sudah disinggung oleh Bu Prapti tadi ya, yang perlu juga untuk menjadi bagian dari literasi digital. Dan bagaimana kita mengakses atau melihat informasi yang kita terima dari dunia digital itu juga menjadi sangat penting begitu. Sehingga itulah juga menjadi pentingnya peran pustakawan sebagai yang disebut di dalam presentasi tadi sebagai the original digital navigators. Kira-kira begitu. Baik, untuk di sini mungkin kita sudah lebih dahulu ya, kita sedikit menjawab pertanyaan yang dari Zoom. Mungkin panitia boleh ditampilkan pertanyaannya. Ya. Oke, ya. So Profesor Mega, you can also read the question. So mungkin saya bacakan ya bagi supaya mungkin bisa terdengar juga. Saya bacakan dalam bahasa Inggris dulu. Hello, Professor Mega. I would like to ask you about the digital divide. Would you suggest how to divide our population in Indonesia? As you said, there are 3 levels in the Maryland project that you've been doing. I think they're referring to the 3 levels of the digital divide. Yeah, here in Indonesia, there are many people with different backgrounds. If you were doing this project, let's say if it was in Jakarta, how would you divide? I think your segment between how do you categorize the people in Jakarta? Would it be 3 levels or more? It might help us to navigate ourselves at what level we are here. Mungkin saya terjemahkan sedikit dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi ini Bapak atau Ibu Husnun dari Purwakarta, terima kasih pertanyaannya. Jadi pertanyaannya ini soal ketika kita membicarakan tentang tingkatan digital divide atau bahasa Indonesianya kesenjangan digital, itu apakah 3 tingkatan ini tuh bisa diaplikasikan kepada masyarakat di Indonesia gitu ya, di masing-masing daerah. Dan kalau untuk situasi di Jakarta misalnya itu seperti apa? Apakah ada 3 tingkatan ini atau seperti apa begitu? Tadi juga sebenarnya menyambung dari apa yang disampaikan oleh Pak Wiratna. Baik, your answer.
Thank you, Kak Husnun ya, dari West Jawa. Thank you for this question. So I think my answer to this question is that it's really difficult for me to tell how we should go about doing this work, because as I said that this work might look different in different places. And to answer the question how we should divide, I would actually suggest doing a pilot at a location in Jakarta first. If Jakarta is what she asked, that might be a good way to start first. And then based on that location, talking to the partners will allow you to assess what are the different backgrounds that represented in that particular location. I would suggest starting there first rather than going, because like I said, the comparison is that the Marylanders Online serves a population of 6 million. Jakarta has 7 times more. So it's really difficult to come up with that different levels. It's really, I think we need to come up with a pilot first in a small location within Jakarta, and then sort of scale it up after that. That would be my answer to that question.
Sedikit merangkum, jadi untuk yang terkait tingkatan kesenjangan digital atau digital divide ini memang kita harus melihat dulu konteksnya masing-masing apa begitu ya. Dan untuk melihat itu kita perlu melakukan dulu studi pendahuluan begitu, agar kita bisa mengetahui karakteristik orang di masing-masing daerah. Nah seperti itu tadi yang disampaikan oleh Prof. Mega intisarinya. Mungkin satu pertanyaan lagi kali ya. Boleh ditampilkan panitia? Oke, baik. Ini saya bacakan aja juga gitu ya dari Bu Mutia dari UPT Perpustakaan Proklamator Bung Hatta. Ini bagian dari Perpustakaan Nasional juga, tapi di Bukit Tinggi. Ya. So it's all sort of like a presidential libraries in the US, but this is for the first vice president. Ya, seperti itu. Jadi pertanyaannya saya bacakan. Hi Prof. Mega, thank you for the awesome insight. So interesting. I want to ask about how you did and your team, and how does your team monitor and evaluate the program? What are the parameters, and how did you know that Marylanders do not just have the access but experience the impact to their knowledge? Ya, silakan.
Thank you, Mutia, for this great question. We also, in addition to my answers earlier, I think Pak Ilhamni asked this question. So I had mentioned that we have gathered the success part. So not just going beyond the access, not just giving the skills, but are they able to actually achieve their objectives? We've been trying to get that data through the digital navigators. So as I mentioned, they have this sheet where they complete. So that is one source of data. The other we have actually different sort of each of the components that I shared with you. Each of the component, from the call center to the resources access to the the AI chatbot, every single piece has an evaluation piece or success piece. So each of those teams are actually collecting this type of data. So one other, I'm going to pull one of that and give that as an example, and I'm trying to think what would be a good one to do. Oh, so one of the things is that we also hired an evaluator. So the evaluator actually has so much of like an independent person, right? Who's not involved in that project. So they're not going to be buyers. They're not going to know exactly how we ran this project. But this evaluator is also helping us to get the KPI data, as well as whether the skills that they have learned, Marylanders have learned, are being used. So they have also been doing interviews. They've also been traveling around the state to talk to our partners and so on. So there's actually multiple data points that we are trying to collect. It's really, because of the scale of this project, it's hard to kind of get one tool to capture everything. So we are getting pieces of data from various sources.
Baik, terima kasih. Jadi tadi intinya ada beberapa sumber data yang digunakan begitu ya. Dan bagaimana tadi juga ada evaluator independen, evaluator gitu ya, evaluator yang mandiri gitu ya, yang juga mengumpulkan data terkait dengan program Marylanders Online gitu. Baik, mungkin karena sudah mendekati akhir ya, saya beri waktu satu pertanyaan lagi mungkin dari yang hadir di sini langsung. Itu tadi Ibu yang sudah duluan ya. Nanti Bapak bisa ini habis ini ya, boleh gitu. Silakan Ibu bisa kenalan. Ya, silakan.
Ya, terima kasih Kak Anta Riksa. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Vera. I'm a national library user. My question is how to make the digital literacy targeted and inclusive so that society has a critical skills to avoid cybercrime. Thank you.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Vera. Tadi pertanyaannya soal bagaimana kita memfasilitasi literasi kita untuk menghindari kejahatan kriminal gitu ya ke depan. Baik, terima kasih. Silakan Profesor.
Thank you so much for the excellent question. This is a huge issue, right? Especially even people who have digital literacy skills are being scammed. So I think this is an excellent question. One of the main things that we found through our work is that older adults especially are very prone to scams. And some of the older adults don't really know even that they are being scammed. So one of the things that we've been doing is we've been working with the senior centers to bring examples that we know within the community of people who have engaged in digital transactions that ended up being a scam. So we brought those examples and actually have used those examples to build the curriculum, including the training of the digital navigators. The Monet curriculum actually has real examples of people who have been targeted by cyber crimes and how they have detected it or not detected it, and then what are the repercussions of their actions. So it's really not to scare people, but it's really to show that don't simply click a link. Don't simply trust the information that you receive. It may come from an email that looks like your son's, but it's actually not. If you look closely, it's not your son's email, right? So things like that are all digital, what I call as digital literacy moments, where we can leverage those moments and then teach them those digital literacy, right? And we also have leveraged our librarians' knowledge because they get this type of ask or requests from people all the time. People come and people said, you know, I clicked this link and suddenly my computer went dark. What happened? You know, and then I see someone sort of like trying to engage with my computer. What they did is they gave permission for that person to access their computer remotely, right? And not knowing that as well. So we actually build a lot of our examples. We take actual events that have been shared by the librarians, by our digital navigators, and incorporate them. And then we also try to offer this type of training and workshop through our Give Help section. Give. I also always get confused with these two terms. It's the Give Help section, where we have session plans or lesson plans where our digital literacy trainers, providers can use. And we have also gone with them to offer this type of training at senior centers because we do see this more common within the seniors, within older adults. Within older adults. I think that's the clue for me to stop.
Yeah, that ends with the mic drop. Mic drop ya. Oke. Jadi tadi soal ini ya, jadi kalau nanti Ibu Vera mau mengecek ada apa namanya Monet tadi ya, itu ada kurikulum yang bisa dibaca dan itu semuanya ini ya gratis ya, free, bisa terbuka gitu ya, open, bisa diakses begitu. Dan juga ada satu segmen yang perlu kita perhatikan yaitu apa namanya lansia gitu ya atau older adult yang rentan dengan kejadian cybercrime terutama scam gitu ya. Baik, seperti itu. Baik, mohon maaf ini ada banyak sekali pertanyaan sebenarnya baik di Zoom tadi Prof. Mega juga sudah melihat dan tadi in person juga ada yang bertanya. Mohon maaf tidak semua kita bisa menjawab karena waktulah yang memisahkan kita begitu. Jadi sekali lagi kita apresiasi sekali lagi Prof. Mega yang sudah menyampaikan wawasan-wawasannya. Dan kita akhiri di sini diskusi kita pada hari ini. Saya sebagai moderator Antariksa mohon maaf jika ada kekurangannya dalam diskusi kita kali ini. Semoga masih bisa berlanjut di dalam diskusi-diskusi yang lain. Saya akhiri, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi.
Baik, boleh lebih meriah lagi Bapak Ibu berikan tepuk tangan untuk narasumber kita dan juga moderator kita pada hari ini. Boleh kami silahkan untuk kembali ke tempat duduknya. Bapak Ibu hadirin yang kami hormati, Seri Puspa Pemustaka ke-25 Seminar Literasi Digital dengan tema Literasi Digital, Inklusi Digital, dan Martabat Manusia telah selesai. Sebelum diakhiri kami ingatkan kembali kepada para hadirin sekalian untuk mengisi daftar hadir yang telah tersedia di layar, segera akan tertampil di layar. Jangan lupa pula untuk menyimpan linknya, nanti di dalam layar akan tersedia link daftar hadir, sertifikat, dan juga materi yang disampaikan pada hari ini. Terima kasih banyak untuk Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian yang telah bergabung dalam acara seminar literasi digital pada hari ini. Sampai jumpa dalam seri-seri Puspa Pemustaka berikutnya. Selamat melanjutkan aktivitas kembali. Selamat pagi, salam sehat dan salam literasi. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya, baik Bapak Ibu, di layar juga terdapat informasi mengenai info webinar berikutnya yang akan dilaksanakan pada hari Jumat 22 Mei 2026. Ini ada webinar kepustakawanan, peran pustakawan dalam pemerintahan digital, dan ada satu webinar lagi yaitu AI or Die, the Digital Library, Unlock AI Knowledge Anytime, Anywhere. Ya, ini di jam 13.30 hingga 16.00. Bagi Bapak Ibu hadirin yang berminat menghadiri webinar ini, kami silakan untuk mengikuti ini ya, ada linknya. Terima kasih.
Kamu pustakawan menawan, selalu hadir dengan senyuman, memberi layanan penuh perhatian, hati ikhlas jadi andalan. Setiap buku yang dibuka, ada dunia baru untuk dibaca. Dengan sabar kamu temani, membawa kita dalam imajinasi. Di antara rak yang penuh cerita, kamu hadir bawa aksara cinta. Setiap hari penuh dedikasi, hadir di sini berbagi inspirasi. Hey, oh, kamu pustakawan menawan, selalu hadir dengan senyuman, memberi layanan penuh perhatian, hati ikhlas jadi andalan. Tanpa kamu apa jadinya? Perpustakaan sunyi dan hampa. Dengan semangat kamu bekerja, pustakawan kami luar biasa. Hey, hey, dan pustakawan.
Baik Bapak Ibu, untuk siang hari nanti juga akan ada acara lagi ya mengenai kebijakan dan praktik pengatalogan deskriptif berbasis RDA ya. Ini mulai dari jam 1 siang hingga selesai, dapat diikuti melalui kanal Zoom dan juga kanal YouTube. Terima kasih.